Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kali. This is my channel. It's super random. As you guys can see, it's daytime, so it's almost noon where I am, and this is the daily energy update. I'm going to share what's going on in the realm, the energy that you could be feeling or that could be moving you. So yeah, first, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay updated on the channel if it's something you're interested in. If you like the daily energy updates, or if you just want to see what comes next, because as I said, it's a real random channel and I still have no idea where it's gonna go. So yeah, anyway, I mean, this to me really is my practice channel. It's me becoming me letting go of all of the things that aren't really me, things, beliefs, feelings, thoughts, behaviors that I picked up as a child, that people told me that weren't true or that I don't want to project in my reality anymore. So, this is me going through that process. I try to be as open as I can and share as much as I can. So right now, first, before we get into it, it's May 28th. It's a Friday, Venus Day, sharing the love, sharing the beauty, sharing the passion. But I looked at the transits, and the sun, the North Node, Mercury, and Venus are all in Gemini right now. So that communication is highlighted. The thinking, the conscious mind is being highlighted. What's going on in your mind? Are you able to clearly communicate what you want? Are you able to say things that you want to say? The throat chakra is super highlighted right now. Someone who has a open, healthy, clear chakra can speak up easily and is also verbally creative and assertive, right? Meaning you don't let people walk all over you. Someone who has a dense or muddy or clogged chakra is going to have issues with self-expression. They're going to be shut down or hesitant to speak your feelings. And there's going to be a lot of frustrations building up because, every time you want to say something and you don't say it, you hold on to it, and then it's like a resistance that eventually builds and builds and builds, and one day you explode and you say everything that you wish you would have said, but by then it's in anger and it doesn't really come across right. And I know this happens to a lot of us in relationships. When things happen, you don't want to say something because you don't want to start an argument. But what happens when you don't speak how you feel, it builds up to a point where you get irritated, where you start holding resentment, and then one day you just blow up and it all comes out in a painful way that maybe you wouldn't have, spoke it that way to begin with. Now, when we're speaking up, it's not being mean, but it's being true to ourselves, how we think, how we feel. It's okay. You don't have to be ashamed of what you think and what you feel, especially if, what I've noticed a lot, I'll be 100% honest with you guys. What I've noticed a lot is a lot of shame and guilt around thoughts. People, a lot of people that I work with come to me and they say, I've been having these thoughts. And I'm like, okay. They're holding on to a lot of guilt and a lot of shame because of these thoughts that they're having. But they don't realize some of these thoughts are not even from them necessarily. It could be from the bloodline, the lineage, the genetics, the past. You can be thinking and feeling thoughts of your parents. You can be thinking and feeling thoughts of other ancestors because these things are stored in the DNA. So it's important to, one, really get a hold on your thoughts and decide, people think because we can hear the thoughts that there automatically are thoughts. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you're picking up on collective thoughts. Sometimes you're picking up on the shadow, the thoughts of the shadow, the collective shadow, what we do all feel guilty, what needs to come to light. I know there's a lot that is being going on in the mind. A lot with just this division. A lot of division. And it Gemini really, because it is the two heads, they're always battling. It's almost like two energies living within us that are never on the same side. It's the right versus the left. And we see this displayed in all of reality, always, whether it's politics, whether it's the racial division happening right now. We see this battle between the two sides and the balance, the heart chakra, because today's Venus, today is highlighting the heart chakra, being calm, trusting, loving, centered, both giving and receiving. It's really working on that balance. Because someone whose, heart chakra was dense or muddled is going to be very distrustful. Their heart is going to be closed off, unable to receive, and there's going to be a lot of resentment there because it's the heart. The heart wants to say something. The heart has a feeling. It wants to come out through the throat. And the mind says, no, I don't want to say that because this or this, The heart starts to get resentful of not being able to express itself, because that's what we're here to do, is express. We're expressions of the universe, here to live and be who we are. So yeah, that is something in my own experience. How I see this energy happening is definitely in the thoughts, because a lot of us have, everyone has this voice inside that wants to project this really terrible reality. It wants, it's the extreme part of us that is just real critical, real judgmental, real rude. And it's even hard on us. It's not even if you're judging other people. I know that you're judging yourself way worse, And it's really shows in the reflection of how you feel about yourself, how you look at other people. And so it's not like a good thing or a bad thing. It's something to be aware of when you're, and that's the thing, is how we interact with other people, how we connect with other people, how we communicate with other people, even in our heads. Because when you're sitting there having hateful thoughts towards somebody, that's an energy that you're projecting out, and they can feel it. Maybe they can't hear the thoughts directly, but they can definitely feel some uncomfortable energy. So really, and there's no need for that. We have these hateful thoughts because we can't clearly communicate what we want to say. Or maybe you feel there could be just a misunderstanding happening, Misunderstandings happen all the time because there's not clear communication of one's intention, especially in relationships, is what I'm realizing. A lot of resentment going on in the relationships of, the people I work with, because they're not being open and clear about what they want and their intentions going into the relationship. There's a lot of dishonesty and, just not being true to oneself when getting in a relationship. For an example, a guy could be like, oh, I don't want to have a serious relationship. I just kind of want to have casual fun. And the woman could be looking for a serious relationship, but she could be like, oh, I can just have casual fun in hopes that eventually that will turn into something else. And what happens is that doesn't usually happen, and the woman ends up hurting and, feeling resentful because she was hoping things were going to change, but That was never the intention of the other person. So, getting into relationships, make sure you guys have and talk about intentions, especially if you're going to have, sex. Because what's happening with sex right now is people are having sex and not talking about what comes after sex, which is a baby, a child. And then they get themselves into the situation, and it's not only hard for the woman who has to decide, what to do. It's hard for the man to decide. Some women don't care what the man think, and the man could even want to have the baby and the woman be like, no way. And then it's her body, her choice, and the man has no choice at all. And I get that men shouldn't be making choices over a woman's body, but what about the baby, like the fetus, right? We don't want to call it a fetus or we don't want to call it a baby because that humanizes it, and it would put a lot of guilt on people who, want to, or need to, But the truth of the matter is it's another energy within you. It's not just your body. It's a life force that's not necessarily yours. I like to look at children as beings that come through us, but they're not necessarily ours. We're mothering the universe. We're raising and taking care of the universe. And what's funny is there's something called the subconscious mind, and it knows everything. It can do everything. And children are so tuned into the subconscious mind. They can teach you so much. Yesterday, I watched my son. We were walking into the room, and out of nowhere, he just put his hand on his head like this. And he's walking, and as he walked, he tripped a little, and he hit his head into the dresser. But he hit his head right where his hand was. And I was like, his subconscious mind knew he was going to hit his head, so his body, without even thinking, instinctually covered his head. It's amazing. And a lot of the time, the mind combats the subconscious. And that's the thing with the conscious mind, is the conscious mind, because it is conscious, it's aware, it thinks it knows everything, but it is just a small percent of what really is happening. And it is not all-knowing at all. It is what we've learned. But the all-knowing part of us is the subconscious. And we tap into that in our dreams. We can tap into that through meditation, through sitting and focusing our attention and intention. So it's really interesting. But yeah, back to the whole thing, it's my body, my choice, but then you merged your energy with another person, and that created a whole new energy, which isn't necessarily your body. Like, it's inside of your body, but it's not like of you, You're making it, yes. Your body's putting the energy into building it, but that life force energy comes from the male. We're the housers. We build the fabric. You know what I mean? That life force comes from the male energy. So men not having a choice, that doesn't make sense to me. And what also doesn't make sense is the men don't also have a choice when it comes to, okay, so a woman can decide, hey, I do or don't want to have this baby. The man has no choice at all, okay? I do want the baby. It don't matter. I don't want the baby. It don't matter. Let's say a woman gets pregnant, and this actually happens a lot. A woman will get pregnant on purpose, thinking that it will make the man stay with her. And that's not always the case. Sometimes the man wants nothing to do with the child. But the woman can still have a baby with someone who doesn't want to have a baby and then go after them for child support. And they don't have a choice. They have to have the child support. So it seems like all the rights are really taken away from the men in this case and given to the women. And look, as a woman, like, I get it. It can be hard knock out there, but we got to be more accountable and responsible for what we're doing beforehand. We need to be talking and communicating with people. And that's really Mercury and Venus is all about that. Communicating in our love and in our relationships. You know, before you have sex with somebody, you need to say, well, what happens if we have a baby? That needs to be, even if it's casual, even if it's a one night stand, that needs to be talked about. You know, because the response you'll get could be something that just completely turns you off and you're like, oh, okay. Because no one plans to get pregnant and then abort a baby. No one plans to do that. Yet it happens because there's not clear communication. If you were about to sleep with a guy and he was like, yeah, if you have a baby, I want nothing to do with it. I'll make your life hell. It would probably make you rethink about having sex with them in the first place. And then you would save yourself the hassle of going through the emotional and physical trauma. And spiritually, it affects us on all levels. So, yeah, I think I'll make this into its own video because I noticed, I don't know, listen, if you watch this whole video, if you could comment down below, let me know. That would be so awesome. So I know people are actually getting to the end of these 15 minutes. But if not, I'm going to make a separate video just to talk about this. Mercury and Venus right now in Gemini. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy your day. I know this was probably, you know, long-winded, which I'm working on, but it's how I am, and maybe you guys will get to see. And I think for those of you who watch me, will be really proud because you'll see how I went from somebody long-winded to somebody who can be direct and concise in what I'm saying. So yeah, I gotta go, you guys. My kid's in there yelling and hollering. I've been up since 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Kids are not easy, so make sure not only, you know, you're communicated before you have sex, but if you're with somebody and you're planning to have children, make sure there's clear communication on the values of raising a child. Because what I see in a lot of my work is two people that come together who are completely different in every aspect, and they want to have children, yet they can't agree on how the children should be raised. And one person has to always compromise, and it turns into resentment, and then it turns into somebody leaving, you know? So we don't want that because it really does take two to raise children. They need that male and feminine essence, energy, that mother and father. And so the government cannot play daddy. It doesn't do a good enough job because it doesn't teach the children, you know? It doesn't teach them boundaries or how to protect themselves, and it doesn't protect them. It exploits them even more. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys all next time. I hope you all enjoy this beautiful Friday, and I will see you guys next time.